I wish they were more transparent because I'm seeing things that like Winning Time is best show on HBO Max. So
Yeah,
like
that tweet cooked me because I didn't even think it was doing bad by the perception, but I don't watch Winning Time.
And maybe because the cast is expensive, but man, I really don't even know no more. But that's the problem with like this era of content creation, and content creation includes like movies and stuff like that.
You think it's
like,
content creation or just business? Because even when ESPN was firing all those employees, their explanation was like, yo, we just aren't receiving a return on investment on giving y'all money. So even if your ratings are individually going up, if the revenue doesn't make sense, yo, bro, we got to cut you.
Well, let me say media as a whole, but it's like, okay, what are we doing in order to be innovative to get these guys to generate money? And I thought about that when Bill Simmons started his own podcast network. And some of them might be good strategies, but some of them to me were like L strategies. So you get these writers, you hire a bunch of writers or whatever, and now these writers who are relatively unknown or they've written a couple times for like The Athletic and stuff like that. Now they have podcasts. Cool. Not necessarily podcasters. Some of these people were behind the scenes in the first place. And then your thing is, okay, well, I'm just going to be on their podcast for like the first 2.5, 3 months. Just be on all podcasts, and I'll help carry these conversations, give them a good foothold. That's fine. But if you're just getting random people doing L business tactics in order to get them to be this thing that you want them to be, it's never going to materialize to be anything like of relevancy. Like that's just the way that I feel. You're forcing stuff. You're spending a bunch of money forcing stuff, and then your answer later on is, okay, well, let me dump a bunch of money into one big thing because that's what ESPN did. All these guys aren't working. Fuck it. We can get Shannon Sharp and Pat McAfee for a couple of days, and that should like alleviate all the problems. And it's trial and error, you know. But
well, don't they got? I was about to bring that up too with you bringing up ESPN firing niggas. At first, I was like, damn, that's crazy. But seeing they got Shannon Sharp for 3 days a week, and I assume they got Pat McAfee the entire week, right? They got his show, like he says, his show is ESPN and on YouTube throughout the week. I'm not gonna lie, getting Pat McAfee for the week would justify firing 18 niggas on ESPN.
Does it?
Because of the staff that Pat McAfee brings. Pat McAfee has, it's literally, and I'm not going to try to compare us to Pat McAfee, but Pat McAfee brings a plethora of people with his brand. It's not just him. It's him. It's 3 to 4 characters that motherfuckers love in his community that also does the show with him. He's bringing on professional players. Aaron Rodgers is coming on every Tuesday. So I understand, like, it might just look like, oh, you fired 10 niggas to hire 2. No, you really fired 10 niggas to hire Shannon Sharp for 3 days. And throughout the week, you got Pat McAfee, Drew McAfee, Skeet McAfee, Ty McAfee, Dre McAfee, and 16 AJ Hawk, and a cast of other characters throughout the week as well.
So listen to what I'm saying. That may be the case that on his show, and it's just about how you want to build your team, build your whatever. On his show, that might be the case. For that 2-hour block that he has, ESPN has 24 hours to fill. So you got 2 hours of First Take, 2 hours of this, and then you got 20 other hours of what the fuck we got going on.
Oh no,
throwing Stephen A. around left, right, and sideways.
You know how ESPN does. They just do reruns the rest of the day. After a certain no. You're saying no, but genuinely, after a certain point in the day, they cut the shit and they just rerun Sports Center all day. Like that's
no, and I get that. For a decade. Get that, and they'll extend Sports Center as much as they can. And then when basketball season comes on, they'll put the countdown up, earlier. But what I'm saying is, at least, and that's just the way that I feel like team creation is bad. What made ESPN good back in the day is because they had a multitude of people who were on the show that people respected, people wanted to watch, they found entertaining. It wasn't built off the dominance of 2 people. And by back in the day, I'm talking like early 2000s, 90s, when there was 60 people in football that were interesting and 60 people in basketball that were interesting.
I think they're rebuilding. I ain't gonna lie.
I ain't gonna lie, but my argument for that one would be, and I'm thinking even back to the late 2000s, mid 2000s, was it the fact that you fell in love with the people that were on there? I mean, I know everyone loves Stu. Everybody loves Stuart Scott. Like, we loved him. But was it that, or was it a lack of any competition to deviate and watch the content that you wanted? Like, as a kid growing up, all I had when it came to basketball content was ESPN and
NBA
NBA TV.
Mhm.
And if I didn't have the premium packaging to get channel 726-1, I'm just watching ESPN for basketball content. Now I can just go on YouTube and watch 36 different YouTubers talk about basketball and have a Lakers specific channel to talk about the Lakers. Why do I need ESPN anymore?
Fuck that. You can watch what Stephen A said on YouTube for in 6 minutes. Yeah, but that's
instead of waiting
Yeah.
the 2 hours to just get to the one segment, I can wait till it drops on YouTube and each segment is broke down to 12 minutes.
Like one of the appeals of Sports Center that put people onto different sports even. Because this was the one time in my life where I thought about, hey, I might fuck with baseball. Might fuck with that Mike Trout kid. Was when I was watching and I was waiting for some segment. I forgot what the segment was. I think it was just the top 10, probably some dumb casual. But because like the tennis segment was above it, then the baseball segment was above it, then the football segment was above it, I had to sit there and wait. And at that point in time, either you consumed it or you didn't. And for that time period, I know it sounds like we were old coots back in the day, but I'm telling you, for that time period, you just sat there and watched all this shit. And then when your segment came on, you watched the segment, turned the channel off, or you kept it the fuck on, went to sleep. And it's nowadays, YouTube it.
And like I remember back in those days growing up, the barbershops, Sports Center was on. Yeah. I go to at my crib, my stepdad had Sports Center on. He went to my goddad's house. He got Sports Center on. My cousins, their dad got. Everybody had Sports Center on because that was the only avenue to watch the sports that you like. If you wanted basketball and football updates, which is the basic Negro special, if you wanted those updates, that's what you watch. Sports Center. Now, especially the mid 2010s, early 2010s, when it kind of deviated, like that's when I kind of got to command what I intake. I didn't need ESPN. Like I remember when I first turned the fucking TV back on for cable for the first time. I was like, oh shit, they're still on. Like this TV works still. Oh my god!
Every time I turn on Red Zone, I'm like, oh my lord, like this is how remote feel.
what I'm saying though, even in that conversation, is from that point they just decided not to innovate or do anything different, and then just cut down on some of the staples for the thing / let people poach what they had. So then you had introductions of like HBO and Showtime doing stuff that was stealing people like Greg Gumbel and some of the Bomani Jones, some of these more important figures from ESPN. And then the introduction of like YouTube and stuff like that also poached some of a viewing base. And all they did was just get rid of shows that were good shows, memorable shows that people watched on ESPN. And they focused on shows that people like overly watch, like First Take or Around the Horn or whatever the fuck, till you get to a point where, oh fuck, our new crop is ass because we didn't properly vet these guys or we didn't set them up for success. And now the resolution is, fuck it, let's just throw a bunch of money at it. When they started, I mean, I remember Mike and Mike in the morning. Mm-hmm. Hey, let them niggas get off air. They let them get off air. True. There's a lot of dudes. There's a lot of ESPN anchors that I'm looking at right now that just like, oh, well, they're alive. They do sports somewhere else. They just let these niggas go or something happened where they just weren't on there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So